Nearly 80% of travel agents and tour operators say they expect to make staff redundant in the next few months. The survey by the Association of British Travel Agents suggests thousands of jobs could be lost because of the coronavirus pandemic. This week, STA Travel went into administration. Hayes, the people who bought Thomas Cook, has already cut 900 jobs, and TUI says it's going to shut a third of its high street travel agents. The sector has launched the Save Travel campaign and it's delivering a letter to Parliament next week. The campaign was organised by the industry magazine The Travel Trade Gazette, and its editor Pippa Jacks asked travel agents to record their experiences of how their businesses are being affected by coronavirus.
2x2 Holidays has been crafting tailor-made wildlife holidays to Africa, Latin America and India for nearly 20 years. We were flying high before the pandemic hit, but now we need targeted government support.
We launched the Save Travel campaign to try to get the government to understand that travel companies selling outbound and inbound travel are in a unique position here. They've been paying out millions of pounds in refunds over the last 6 months, and many of them have no prospect of earning any real income until next year. ABTA's research this week shows almost 40,000 jobs have already been lost or are at risk. The collapse of STA Travel last week was just one more recent example. And we expect hundreds of thousands more jobs will actually be lost over the coming months if the government doesn't step in.
I did work for Barhay Travel. At the end of July, sadly, I was made redundant along with 3 others from our little small team. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last few weeks for all of us, and it's really given everybody a wake up call. Is what the future of travel is.
It tends to be the big companies, so the airlines and the major tour operators, that really make the headlines when they announce job cuts. But there are thousands of smaller companies, including high street travel agencies, self-employed home workers, who are also on the edge and feel like they've been forgotten. We know some travel agents have even taken out personal loans to make sure that their customers get a refund promptly, and they're receiving hardly any new bookings at the moment because consumer confidence is so low. And they just can't carry on like this without some government support.
I've been in the industry 20 years plus, I'm getting a bit old, but this is the worst it's ever been. Yes, we had the self-employed grant for people that qualified. I was one of the ones that didn't. Because of this, I took out a massive risk and took out a personal loan so that I can survive, so that I can live.
Firstly, we need a more workable approach to travel restrictions and quarantining, and to be given more notice about changes. We're also asking for an extension to the furlough scheme, recognising that many travel businesses won't make it through the winter, which is a quiet time anyway, if they don't get some financial support in that sense. We're also asking the government to offer a holiday on the air passenger duty normally charged on air tickets to help with pricing and to stimulate demand until the end of next year, a bit like they did with the Eat Out to Help Out scheme.
And despite taking all government loans, grants and the furlough scheme, we won't really currently have any income of any sizable amount until probably March of 21.
Pippa Jacks, the editor of the Travel Trade Gazette, and agents from the Save Travel video campaign. Phil Nuttall is the chief executive of the Travel Village Group. He has a shop in Blackpool and an online travel business. Phil, lots of listeners have been getting in contact with you and yours over the past few months because they've been struggling to get refunds from airlines and other travel companies. How have you managed refunds over the last few months?
It's a good question, that. And going back to one of the problems that Pippa mentioned is the furlough scheme. And I think I'll just qualify that. The furlough scheme is great. And yes, we need it. But the problem is I have a team of people, like many other travel agencies and travel businesses, who we have to pay to be there to deal with the piles and piles of administrative work and to refund the customers. And furlough, we cannot furlough those people. So the travel industry, the outbound tourism sector is different because we need furlough for those people so that we can continue to service the customers, but still allow them to work. That's the big difference.
So you've not been able to furlough your staff because they're still working, yet you're not making any money because you can't sell any holidays, or are you selling fewer holidays?
Fewer holidays. In fact, the cruise sector is been devastated, as we all know. But yes, we're paying people to give customers the money back, which is quite right. You know, we've actually paid. We made a decision when we started. We're a family business, 61 years, and we decided that we would keep our team together and we would pay them and make sure that even if the customers wanted to let steam off, which I quite understand, that we would take those calls, sometimes give them the answers that they wanted, sometimes the answers that, you know, maybe they didn't want to hear. But, you know, we're working so hard, and the industry, the travel agent community is on its knees now. And if we don't get government support to pay to keep these people in these positions to talk to customers and look after customers, then I have fear for the industry, to be honest with you.
What sort of support do you think needs to be given by government as the autumn approaches?
The support needs to be that we are allowed to claim furlough, 80% furlough for our care teams and our administration accounts teams to be there throughout the winter season, because this is probably going to carry on for the next few months, and to be able to keep the businesses alive. Without that support from government to allow furlough for people to stay working, and I'm not talking about salespeople here, we're talking about the people who are actually looking after customers and are giving them the refunds and supporting them. This is where the big problem is in travel. We can't just shut up shop.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because I don't think there's a day goes by where we don't hear from one sector or another that isn't asking the government for more help.
I agree. I'm not saying for 1 minute we're on our own, but what I will say is that, you know, the travel industry has been particularly badly hit. And actually, if we'd have had furlough for these particular people in our business and government would have allowed those people, the administrative people, to stay in those positions and service the consumer, we also wouldn't have had the problems with some of the larger organisations that customers have not been able to get through to, who shut their shop and shut their doors, shut their phone lines down. They probably would have kept them open and the customer experience would have been far better.
If people are deferring holidays to next year, how does that affect the industry? You know, holidays that they might have paid for this year but going next year.
Yeah, well, there's no incremental revenue, is there, you see, Sam? That's the problem. You know, so we may be deferring people to next year, which is great, and I'm sure we'll have a great year next year. I'm really hopeful for that. But the problem is there's no extra revenue coming in. So in effect, it's a year out for the travel industry.
Phil Nuttall from Travel Village, thank you very much for coming on You and Yours today.